Nerd Mom. We're here today. I'm here with Sugar Jones. Say hi, Sugar.
Hello.
We're here today and we're going to talk about how to figure out which extra activities to do as homeschoolers. I am blown away by how many different options we have out there of all the fun things we can do. How about you, Sugar?
Yeah, it's so funny. That's one of the questions we always get as homeschoolers is, well, what about this and what about that? I'm like, what do you mean? We can do whatever we want. That's the cool thing. So,
Yeah, I know for us, I was at a homeschool meeting for my church support group on Tuesday, and we had some people one person who was interested in homeschooling and one person who's new to homeschooling. And we were talking about the fact that, the field trips that you can take, like going to Legoland on a discount as a homeschooler, and the Monterey Bay Aquarium for free as a homeschooler, and that their science classes and choirs and everything. They're like, I want to do that. I want to do that. I'm like, okay, whoa, whoa, whoa. Before you decide to sign your kid up for every minute of the day, you have to do some thinking. So I know for us, we both have chosen some very different things for our children to be involved in.
right.
What are your criteria of which activities you'll consider and you won't consider?
Well, I try and keep everything to stuff that I know interests me because I'm the teacher. So, and stuff that is going to fit into my personal schedule as well because as much as I am here with my kids homeschooling, I'm a really busy person. So it has to kind of fall in those things. And, the kids have some interests of their own, and so we gauge that in there. But they're going to kind of keep them narrow if I don't open them up and just say, hey, let's try this year. So I don't really have a narrow set of structures other than it's got to fit in our life.
Yeah. See, I guess I'm a little bit more type A than you are to begin with, I guess. But part of it is having more kids also really affects things. For us, a good example is we only will do Lego robotics at night. We don't do anything else after hours because it's so hard to get family time at night as it is. But for me, like at least half the kids have to be involved. I don't want to be trucking child after child to something that only one person's doing. So that really can affect things for us.
Yeah. Well, we have the same amount of kids, but mine are different aged. So I only had two at a time, I guess, and so with the two, and you still have a boy and a girl. So it kind of does have to, be something that the boy and girl kind of like sometimes, but other times, like we were talking about extracurricular activities, you're not always going to have them on the same, doing the same interest and that sort of thing. So, that I just gauge. I just go by per kid. And yeah, for sure, I'm not as type A. That's for sure.
Yeah, well, for me, I think part of it is I know so many people who it's Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, they have this one kid has a lesson at this time. So, their other 3 or 4 kids have to go with them. And then Tuesday, Thursday, this other one kid has their thing. And so you want to allow everyone to be involved. And it's hard if you're doing it one-off because then you have so many. And then we also kind of have some guidelines about like only one performing art at a time or only one competition team at a time or things like that, just to kind of limit it because it can get so crazy.
Right. Yeah. Well, and when you're talking about things like electives like music, that you've got a weekly lesson and you've got lessons in between. So it's kind of not that difficult to get them to both, maybe both play guitar. And so this year I've decided that rather than a language, which we've done for the last couple of years, and they were immersed in this year, that we're going to actually go back to music. And so that's my idea is, it's so easy to take tweens and take them to guitar lessons, maybe not necessarily with the same instructor at the same level because one has had some instruction and the other one hasn't. And then that's also something that we can practice at home. And, their dad fiddles around with his guitar, and so it's something that we can do kind of as a family. So that's one of the fun ones that we get to do this year. But other things like we were talking about something that only one person can do at a time. That really makes sense, especially if you've got to be driving all over the place. For us, it's just the only person that's been really doing any extracurricular activities outside of what we do in our classes has been my daughter, who's done cheer. And on those times, my son has to he has to tag along, and he and I do other things while she's practicing So, he's picking up skateboarding. So those are more like hobbies, but there are a lot of factors. I really, honestly, just for me, it's all about schedule. You just can't overwhelm yourself, and just be open to a bunch of different things that you can do at home and as a family. Now, you were talking about Lego robotics, that you only do it at night. I guess I kind of leave myself open to, like, during cheer season, Saturdays are off limits for us to do anything other than, be planning on a game. And, there's competition time, so we know the dates that are competition. So we just personally just don't make any plans outside of that because it takes up so much time. And, it's Pop Warner, so it's actually same as football season. So should my son decide that he wants to play football, which he's saying he doesn't want to, he's still not sure that he's a fan of actually playing the game. But then that's something they can do together but separately, which is kind of cool. So there are a lot of options for people, in regular school or in homeschool.
Yeah. Sorry, my computer there for a minute was locking up and locking me out a little bit. I think that everyone's criteria changes too. I mean, I don't know about you, but if things are like all on a day together, you're saying that, working the kids' music, I'm more open to it than if it's another time. Am I just really mean?
No, you know what? You've got to do things that work for you, right? I'm more of a hippie. And, now I have a tighter schedule, and so, kind of going with the flow isn't going to work for too long. So, one of the things that I've also done just as a person, not necessarily as a homeschool mom, but as a person, is that I can only have, there are a certain amount of activities that can happen every day. And so I usually only have one extra activity happen per day when I'm really busy. So, for instance, right now I'm working pretty much full-time from home and from an office because school's over for the kids. As of yesterday, they have completed, and we've turned in all of our assignments to our online school. And so today is our first day of summer, and so today is my first day back in the office, working on some projects and everything. So for me, like, if I have more than one big thing outside of that a day, can't. Because I only have so much bandwidth in my head, and like you were talking about, you want to have family time too, and you don't want to spend that, just running around on the freeway yelling, because being in the car together isn't necessarily family time.
Not at all. I mean, that is for me. I'm not so much. I am kind of a one a day. I think part of it is you were talking about, you're more of a hippie and go as it is. I think the idea of scheduling a bunch of activities for me means I lose all spontaneity for fun.
Yeah.
And so for us, we have one day that the morning is just for the kids' activities. And then we have our Lego robotics. But then I'm kind of open. So if I'm having a lighter week and we want to go have a play date or we want to go do another activity, we can. Mm-hmm. Versus that idea of, I jokingly say, we don't do sports because you've met me and my husband's very similar to me. Sports are not our thing. I did play sports as a kid, but my kids aren't real interested in it. And it takes up around here. It takes up 3 nights a week and all day Saturday. And I know, we wouldn't do anything else, and it's not a passion for my kids. And I think you do have to weigh that too. Their passion versus the good that you get,
Right.
But yeah, and I do say, when I say one performing art, we put our kids in a play, but my kids are also in choir, and I'm very honest. They are in choir because I believe in choir. It's not because they've requested it. Their choir is a class, and they have been doing it since kindergarten, and until high school, they will do it every year. At high school, it has to become their choice because the choir director won't allow it any other way.
Uh-huh.
So I don't count that in their activity list because I'm very honest, that's a mom thing. I really believe in choir because I love music and I have no talent, so they have to get it somewhere. No, I think that is one of the. Have you ever gotten to that point though of activity burnout?
Honestly, like I said, I just don't do too much all at once. But 2 years ago, my daughter's cheer team and the football team that they cheered for kept winning. And you would think that we would, I mean, the parents, we were like, we were kind of halfway like, oh my God, that's so exciting, they keep winning. Oh my gosh, I can't believe it. And the other half of us is like, oh my God, this is a really long season, you know? And the season kept going and going. And by the time the kids, the boys had won, they'd gone to regionals and they'd gone as far as they could, and they lost, and it was sad. And, you know, the next morning we all woke up and thought, oh, thank God, that was the last game, finally. And so it was kind of like mixed. But then when the cheerleaders kept cheering, you know, because once the football season was over, they were still competing. And then they won and went to Florida, and we were just over the moon and excited, but that meant weeks more of practice and, you know, flights and hotels and all that good stuff. By the time the girls came home, we were done. That was it. We were like, okay, that was a really, really, really great season. And we took the next year off.
Which, I mean, is so against what the world tells us to do. Because I know for me, I'm much more laid back about what we do now, but it's because I burned out. At one point, I was just discussing it with my babysitter, and we were discussing the fact that, like, because we're very active in a church, literally just our church activity was all morning and early afternoon Sundays. I was back at church Tuesday morning. I was back at church Wednesday night. I was back at church Thursday morning. And that's not counting any of the extra seasonal activities.
And so
which meant right. And so when I started dropping things like my Thursday morning Bible study that I attended a leaders meeting for on Tuesday, people were like, but you enjoy it so much. And I'm like, I'm going to strangle myself or worse, my children. And because in addition to that, they had choir and they had science, and that was the thing. Wednesday night was for Awana for them. And then park play dates would come up, or somebody would say, hey, why don't you do a field trip with us? Why don't you go to this thing? And I'm like, I can't do one more thing. Right. And so for me, I found cutting back on my involvement and their involvement, because it's like, as you said, I want one thing a day because it drains me to be out and about in the world. So it's not like I come home, or any of us do come home and sit down and all of a sudden get our, you know, all our homework done and all of my actual work done. It's just like, oh,
yeah.
No.
And, you know, we did buy the kids some boards. And so they're surfboards, and so they're out now, you know, flopping around in the waves, and it's a lot of fun. And it, you know, I think it's, you know, it counts as a sport, counts as PE, and it also is something that we can do as a family, because, you know, my husband and I are out there trying to help them get up on the boards and catch the next wave, and, you know, giving them some instruction and picking them up when they get, you know, tossed around and tumbled onto the sand and that sort of thing. And that's a lot of, you know, it's a lot of fun, it's a lot of work and everything like that. But I keep thinking, okay, we love doing that so much. If we add something onto our calendar, that means we get to do that less. And so I kind of gauge, you know, like I had this example a long time ago. It's, you know, when you have so much on your plate, right? We say you have a lot on your plate. Well, somebody said, well, what do you like the most? Do you like mashed potatoes? Do you like steak? Do you like salad? Do you like veggies? What is it that you like the most? Okay, well, if it's steak that you like the most, but your plate is piled on with mashed potatoes, and mashed potatoes are good, but if you would rather have more steak instead of like a plate full of mashed potatoes, then you need to take some of the mashed potatoes off your plate and add a little more steak. Or, you know, vice versa, like if you like more, you know, potatoes or more salad or whatever, you're going to have to take something else off of your plate in order to enjoy that other thing. So right now my gauge is, will we have enough time to spend time flopping around in the waves? And so, and I know it's going to be something else, you know, when it gets colder. Will we have enough time to do this other activity? And if you gauge that, if it, you know, whatever it is that you want on your plate more of, then you add things in that way. And it's going to change. It's going to change when the kids get older, and it's going to change when you get busier. It's just that's, I just try and keep my mashed potatoes and my steak, you know, evenly proportioned.
Okay.
I think I lost you.
Okay. Hey, okay. Sorry, I'm back, I think.
Yes.
Are you still there?
Uh-huh.
Okay, I'm back. You love it when you have things that are running in the background and then all of a sudden they start locking up and dragging your entire computer down.
Yeah.
Do you hear me now?
Yep.
Okay, perfect. Okay, sorry. Yeah, I heard what you're saying about, picking what you love and what you like. We've kind of done that in the past. I think too, there's a pressure on homeschoolers to prove that their kids are just as active and just as well-rounded, and so they want to give their child every single opportunity they can possibly fit. And I think it's okay to say no sometimes, not because you have something that officially conflicts, but because you can only handle so much chocolate at night. I know we all think we can eat all the chocolate we can hold, but you will end up throwing up by the end of the night.
Yeah.
You know? It's okay to say no, and it's not a judgment on you as a parent or the experience you're giving your kids, I think. I grew up in a very high-stress area. I don't know about you, but the kids had to do everything possible.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's crazy. Oh. So what activities are you, other than the music, what activities are you planning on putting your kids in next year?
We're going to wing it. That's the only one that I know for sure that we're having, because that one is going to be tied to our curriculum. And so we're going to be doing like music theory as our class, and I'm going to have them go back into doing guitar, and then just let them feel it out and do other stuff that they'd like to do as well. Maybe add in some movies, like any kind of movies having to do, with music or whatever. Right now, we're kind of on a Glee kick. We have to watch I have to be careful and screen some of the episodes, but I do wake up singing Lady Gaga almost every morning, and I don't listen to Gaga, but all of a sudden I'm like waking up singing, I live for the applause. I'm like, wow, I didn't see that coming. So, so I think I'm going to add in a little more fun that way. So it's gonna encompass the arts. So my new stake right now is getting us into more music and performance kind of stuff this year. I think it'll be interesting, and just kind of, playing around with it and seeing what comes along.
Oh, that's awesome. I know we're on a musical week right now, so we're halfway through Flower Drum Song. Have you seen that one by Rodgers and Hammerstein?
No.
Oh, you've got to see the Flower Drum Song. Oh, what are we watching this week? We're watching that. We watched Singing in the Rain because my boys love Donald O'Connor.
Yeah.
And I also have Carousel to watch. We got them from the library because, unfortunately, those great old musicals are not streaming on Netflix or Amazon for the most part.
Aww.
So we got them from the library, but they do have No Business Like Show Business on Netflix right now.
Oh, wow.
With Marilyn Monroe and Ethel Merman and all of that. And so we very much are in that viewpoint right now. Now, how old is your oldest daughter again? What grade is she in?
She's 12. Well, the oldest one that lives with me is going to 8th grade.
8th grade. Okay, for some reason I was thinking she was in high school already, because there is a music theory AP class or AP test. So, that's the other nice thing. Sometimes I think we forget how academically viable these subjects can be. Mm-hmm. So if they keep going down this a little bit, they can study and take the AP test when they're a sophomore or junior in high school and get college credit for it. That's what's nice.
Yeah.
It's a nice thing. I know for us, we are looking at Lego robotics again, the husband and I. You were talking about the football season that kept going and all that. We kind of feel the same way when Lego robotics is over, because it ends, unless you qualify to go on, it ends in like December. So the problem is, if you qualify to go on, that second competition also happens in December, around Christmas and open houses and all that. So that's kind of chaotic. So we're doing that, and we're doing choir. And I'm actually looking at something, and I think it's called ICC, something along those lines. And it's a communications group that we have a chapter that's opened up in the last couple of years here in Fresno for ages like 6 to high school. Like, they get together like every other week for a couple hours, and they do presentations, and they do like oral interp type stuff and everything together. So I'm considering that, depending on when they decide to meet. But I think we're going to start putting a little bit more emphasis in performance. My kids did a play last year and loved it. It was a musical.
Very cool.
Yes, it was a Motown Easter type musical. It was very,
fun.
very cute, very homeschooly. My girlfriend helped write readapt the music for it, so it was really cute. But that was the other thing. If I had them all scheduled in lessons, that came up in the spring semester. I wouldn't have been able to fit it in otherwise. Yeah, it's one of those things, because what was it we were talking about in our group, the fact that, we have all these different groups. We have the music. We have, we have sports Saturdays through our homeschool group. So we do that. So it's not competition per se, but it's any kid that's available comes out.
What do you mean not competition? That's what sports is competition. Somebody has to win.
Oh, no. We do that. We keep score. Don't get crazy. You know me. I mean more along the lines of not like teams that you're competing consistently.
Oh, I see. Like, no leagues.
For 5 weeks we do soccer, and everyone shows up who can show up. So if you can show up 3 weeks and not all 5 weeks, you can play soccer that day, kind of thing.
Right.
That's what I mean. Oh, no. We keep score and all that. Let's not get crazy. Yeah, I don't understand the participation football games. I don't understand that.
Everybody has a natural drive to win, and it's good to have winners, and it's good to learn how to lose. I think so.
I completely agree with that. We keep score because you want to, I view it as you want to take joy in people's victories for them. You're playing with your friends. They scored a goal. Yay, they scored a goal. That's not a bad thing about you. That's a good thing for them.
Yeah.
But then again, we're very competitive in our household, and, if you ask certain children, I'm sure they can tell you it was one of the last, 5 games of Monopoly deal between them kind of thing, But I think that's good, too. I mean, we want board game time, and we want movie time, and we want, all that fun stuff. So, okay, so you said your summer started.
Yes,
what else are you guys up to?
Today is the first day. Well, I'm going to be working a lot. So we're going to be handing off a lot of the activities to Dad. And Dad will probably be tossing around in the waves with the kids, and there will be a lot of fishing. So, and, we're getting some instruction on the guitar. So I think that's about all they're going to do. That, and we've decided this year that we're going to do a couple of books each and book reports over the summer, because my daughter is already a voracious reader, but then my son got bitten by the reading bug. So there's going to be a lot of time at the beach, a little bit of time playing the guitar, and a little bit of time reading. But it's pretty much going to be your typical beach-loving summer.
See, that's the thing. That beach thing really makes you be able to have a summer more than us. It is supposed to be 100 here this week. And up to 100, I want to say on Sunday for church when you have to dress like a grown-up. And so we don't do a lot.
I got to tell you this. Maybe it's because we live at the beach, but at beach we show up in flip-flops and shorts if we want to.
We can do that too. I go to church in capris all the time, but there's that moment of I just can't go to church in a tank top. It's just me.
Oh,
Nobody
no.
needs to see that.
I don't do tank tops. No. I don't.
But when it's 100. I'd like to be wearing a super short little cotton dress if I could get away with it, and I won't leave the house in that. So, But yeah, so for us, our kids' summers don't include a whole lot of outside time. They have VBS coming up in a couple weeks, but next week starts birthday season here in our house.
Oh, wow.
So,
well, cool.
Yeah, we have 2 birthdays next week, so which means lots of baking for Mom, which is always what I want to do in the heat, but it's worth it.
Bake at night.
Yes, I think we're going to introduce the kids to Harry Potter over the summer. So I think we've made that decision. We were waiting until some of them were a little older because it's one of those things you can't introduce it to half of a group of children who all voraciously read and share books. So we were waiting. So we decided we're going to do that. So I'm looking forward to it. I've waited to read them all with them. So.
Oh, very cool.
Yeah, I've only read the first one. So we think we're going to watch the movies.
We finally got into that. We saw the movies. We didn't read the books, but I'm thinking we're going to go back and read the books of Ender Games. So that may be what we do with my son. My daughter already started the Divergent series, and I think she's going to continue on with that this summer. So it's going to be a very epic kind of reading summer. It'll be fun.
Those are the best kind. My kids right now are working through the Pendragon series. They're really enjoying that. And they like all the Rick Riordan stuff. So was it like The Lightning Thief? That series of books. And so I think we've watched both. I think there's only 2 movies, but the kids are working through he's got a couple series, and they love the Rick Riordan stuff. So I don't know if your son might be interested in that, but my kids just love it, and they're loving Pendragon.
Very cool.
Yeah. My daughter did make the realization, though, that she says, how come a lot of the books I like are either set in, like, Arthurian times, mythology times, or they're on another planet and it's totally, sci-fi future stuff. I said, because, honey, that's how geeks roll. That idea of, I haven't quite introduced her to steampunk yet, but she's just on the edge. It's one of those.
There.
Almost.
Yeah, my son's virtual world that he has designed is very steampunk. You would approve.
I love it. I mean, that's one of those, and as a girl geek specifically, you have people like Ida Lovelace that came from that time period, and she was the first computer scientist to exist, to the point that she was best friends with the man who made the machine, but he didn't know how to utilize it and program it. So she was the first computer scientist ever. And, that she comes from that Victorian age of H.G. Wells and all that cool stuff. So, I think we've got some epic movie watching going on, too. I think we're going to watch the Harry Potter movies, and we've decided we have to rewatch Pride and Prejudice, the 6-hour version.
Oh, yes. My favorite, PBS.
Oh, yes. I'm sorry. There is
or BBC.
No
BBC that gets played on PBS.
Yes. There is no Mr. Darcy except for Colin Firth. I'm sorry. I don't care what the rest of you say.
That is the only Mr. Darcy ever.
Amen. I mean, and I like Matthew McFadden. I think it was Matthew McFadden who played in the 2-hour remake, but you can't do Jane Austen's stuff in 2 hours. It's just, it's wrong. Not that I have an opinion on this at all.
Right.
Very open-minded on this. But yeah, I think for us, we're going to kind of enjoy that summariness of just kind of chilling out in a cool house and, watching some TV. But we're going to keep doing things like math and stuff just to, in October, my kids will be outside all day.
And then we'll be off to our next year and filled with electives and all kinds of other stuff.
Oh, so much so. I know my best friend, we keep having the conversation about what are they doing in the fall. She's very much one of those, I'll make the decision tomorrow. We're so far away. And then all of a sudden she went, I keep saying fall's so far away. It's not, is it? I'm like, no.
Yeah. Very close.
Very, very close. So with that, it brings us to about the end of our time. And we don't have any questions right now. So I think we're going to let you guys all go and have a great week. Let us know, is there any kind of summer-type subjects you guys would really like us to delve into or anything to help you ramp up for the fall? Let us know on our Google Plus page or tweet me at NerdMom or tweet Sugar at SugarJones, and we will see you guys next week. Bye.